What's up? What is up, party people? Welcome back to my channel. I'm Jamila. This is JemilaBeReadin because I do be reading. And today we're doing the mid-year freakout tag. My very first one. I am almost at my year booktube anniversary. It is in July. I think I posted my first video July 18th or something like that. So that's coming up pretty soon, but I'm excited to be doing this tag. It's a very popular tag here on booktube. It's basically just to chat about what you've read so far, your favorites, your disappointments, things that you want to read, blah, blah, blah. So here I am to do that. I will go ahead and link the original creators of the tag in the description as well as all the questions. But let's just get into it, okay? The first question is your favorite or best book that you've read so far this year. And I have given, I think, 7 books 5 stars this year. Really good books, and it was kind of hard to whittle this down. I think I'm going to go with the one that I read most recently because it's been fresh on my mind and I have not stopped thinking about it. And that is The Death of Vivek Oji by Akwaeke Emezi. This is a literary novel that is set in Nigeria. The start of the book, we find the titular Vivek Oji dead on their parents' porch, and their mother is trying to figure out what happened to them. And basically this is just a long look at Vivek's life through the perspectives of everyone that knew them. And it's very sad, and it's very melancholy, and it's very poignant, and the writing in here is excellent. I absolutely loved it. I think this might be amongst my favorite books of all time, potentially. I think this is something that I am going to reread in the nearish future just because I don't know, I don't think it took everything in. I'm still sitting with this book, and it is so good, and I'm very excited to check out Akwaeke Emezi's other works. The next question is the best sequel that you've read this year so far. I actually haven't really read any sequels. I've started a lot of series, so that's fun for me. But I guess the closest thing I have to a sequel is Act Your Age, Eve Brown, which is the third and final book in the Brown Sisters trilogy. Though technically you could read each of them as a standalone, I'm just going to go ahead and count it as a sequel for the purposes of this video. This is following Eve Brown, the youngest Brown sister. She is kind of a hot mess, and she is just trying to, get her life together. She kind of runs away, in a sense, from her parents' house. She ends up at this bed and breakfast. They are hiring for a cook or a chef. She accidentally gets into this interview, does not hit it off with the owner of this B&B, Jacob, and then accidentally hits him with his car, so he's technically forced to hire her because he needs help around the B&B. So that is the setup of this book. As you can imagine, it's a little wacky, it's a little fun. It is definitely funny. It has the trademark Talia Hibbert banter. I absolutely love the two of them together. They're so cute. And yeah, I mean, what can I say? It's probably some of my favorite romance books. They're just so much fun. So there's that. So the next question is a new release that is already out, but you haven't read yet. And for that, I have a ton. Quite frankly, there's so many. But I'm just going to go with the 2 that I think I'm probably going to read the most soon, the most immediately, and that is 7 Days in June by Tia Williams. This is a romance novel that's following Eva Mercy, who's a single mother and a best-selling erotica writer, and Shane, who's a reclusive, enigmatic, award-winning novelist who everyone's surprised shows up at New York, and it's their love story, 7 days, steamy Brooklyn summer. They reconnect. Sounds really good. This is actually my local book club pick for July, so I know I'm going to read this by this month, so I'm very excited for this one. It just seems like it's going to be so good. So I also have Ace of Spades by Farida Abike Iyamede. This is a YA thriller. I almost said fantasy, but I don't know if it's fantasy. I think it's just a thriller mystery. It's definitely dark academia vibes. It's set at a Nivius private academy. following Devin Richards and Chiamaka Adebayo. They are selected to be a part of the elite school senior prefix. But then stuff happens. Anonymous text messages, things, pranks, sickly pranks, a dangerous game, all that kind of stuff. But I've been hearing nothing but good things about this book, and it seems like it's going to be a fun, thrilling ride. So there's that. So the next question is your most anticipated release for the second half of the year. And this was kind of hard for me to figure out. I was looking at, I put together like a bookshelf on Goodreads of like my most anticipated reads of the year, and most of them have been for the front half. So there's that, but I do have a few. The first one is All the Feels by Olivia Dade, which is the second book in the like spoiler alert series. Again, I think they're supposed to be like standalones, but the couple is introduced in the first book, spoiler alert, which I read earlier this year and really enjoyed. And I have a feeling I'm gonna really like this one. So I'm very excited for that. I think that one comes out in October. It comes out in October. Next up, I have A Snake Falls to the Earth by Darcy Little Badger. This is their next book. I don't really know what it's about, but I absolutely enjoyed Alat's Away, and I honestly will read anything that Darcy Little Badger puts out at this point. So I'm excited for that, and I think that one comes out in August, actually. And then I have The Heart Principle by Helen Huang. This is the third book in the Kiss Quotient series following Quan, who I've been waiting for. I'm very excited for that one as well. And I think that also comes out in August. So there's that. The next question is biggest disappointments. And I have two. The first one is The Hating Game by Sally Thorne. This is kind of like a booktube staple. Everyone loves this book. Everyone recommends this book. It's so popular. And I was like, okay, let me finally give this a try. So I did, and let me tell you, I was disappointed. It was not that great. I thought all the banter was childish. I thought the hate was particularly childish and petty. I don't really know why they hate each other. I also don't particularly like the hate or enemies to lovers trope where one person is secretly in love with the other the entire time. And I'm like, oh, you're just picking on them because you like them? I didn't know that we were back in preschool. So I just didn't really like, I didn't like any of the characters, honestly. I can't remember their names. Don't really like any of the characters. Didn't like their romance. Yeah, I was disappointed. The other one, I still gave like 3.5 stars, but it was The Bride Test by Helen Huang, which is the second book in the Kiss Quotient. I really enjoyed the Kiss Quotient, so I had high expectations for The Bride Test, and it just wasn't that great. I talked about this in my May wrap-up, so you can go watch that, but there was just like some tropes that I didn't particularly enjoy, and I thought there should have been more communication between the two leads. But I mean, I still enjoyed it, but it was a bit of a disappointment. The next question is biggest surprise for 2021 so far, and that would have to be Nothing to See Here by Kevin Wilson. I didn't really know anything about this book. I mentioned this again in another wrap-up. I'd seen maybe some Bookstagram pictures here and there, but no one really talking about this book. I don't really see anyone talking about this book. It wasn't on my radar, and I hadn't heard really anything about it. So a friend of mine recommended this for our like small like friend book club, the Alpacas book club, and we ended up reading this, and it's so good. I gave this one 5 stars, definitely amongst my top reads of the year so far. And I was just really surprised. I had no expectations going into it. I didn't really hear anything about it, like I mentioned. So, I mean, it was so good. This one is kind of like a magical realism type of story following Lillian, who's friends with Madison from their like high school days. Madison is married to a senator now, and his kids, her stepkids, are coming to live with them for the summer, but they end up having some issues in the fact that when they're feeling heightened emotions, they spontaneously combust. And so Lillian is tasked to be their caretaker. They bond and all that stuff. It's really good. All right, so the next question is favorite new author, debut, or new to you. I wouldn't say that I have a favorite new author yet. The authors that I'm going to mention are more people who have intrigued me. I've enjoyed their book, and I'm going to keep an eye out or like check out their backlist, because I don't want to say favorite author yet, having only read one book. But one of them is definitely P. Jelly Clark. I read Ring Shout last year, and then I read A Dead Djinn Cairo, and then A Master of Djinn this year, and I just absolutely love the way that he writes worlds and atmosphere and just the magic, and it's so good. I definitely think he's going to be a favorite author. I am going to check out the other novella in the Fatima El Shawari series, as well as I think it's like something. There's another novella I'm gonna check out, but I feel like he's probably gonna be a new favorite author of mine. Another is definitely Akwaeke Emezi. I'm gonna check out their backlist and their new memoir. I can definitely see them becoming a favorite author of mine. Two that had debuts recently that I'm interested in checking out future stuff. Matteo Ascaripour, who wrote Black Buck. Really, really enjoyed that book, and I think he has a new book coming out in next year or 2023. I'm not quite sure, but I'm definitely going to go check that one out. And then also Raven Leilani, who wrote Luster. I really, really enjoyed that book, and again, I'm going to be keeping my eye out on any new books from her as well. The next question is newest fictional crush. Definitely Hilo from Jade City. If you know, you know. I'd also say Jacob from Eve Brown. He's a hottie as well. Also, Fatima El Shawari from A Master of Djinn and A Dead Djinn in Cairo. A bad bitch. I love her. And then newest favorite character, Fatima El Shawari. I am obsessed. She is so cool. She is dapper AF. She has so much style and swag. I could literally read about her forever, honestly. And a book that made you cry. Definitely the death of Vivek Oji. I won't spend too much time on that since I've already talked about that in this video. But also Just Mercy by Bryan Stevenson. It is a nonfiction book about a particular case of his where he's getting an innocent person off of death row, and also just about the criminal justice system and about the death penalty. Oh my gosh. It's such a good book. I mean, it's written in such a like narrative fictional style that it's really easy to like get into. I listened to the audiobook and it kind of felt like I was listening to like a podcast of someone just talking about their life, and it's narrated by Bryan Stevenson himself. So I mean, there were moments where I was just like driving to work and I'm just like full on crying. It was a lot. And the next question is a book that made you happy, and definitely A Master of Djinn. I keep bringing this up, but it's just like such a cool and immersive world. All of the characters are really well rounded and interesting, and it's just a world I can see myself returning to time and time again. It was just so much fun to read. I also have to say Boys Run the Riot, which is a manga series. I mean, this is only the first volume. This is about a trans boy named Ryu who is, you know, having a hard time with his identity and dealing with the pressures of school and just society, and having a crush on his friend. And he also gets to meet this new student named Jin, and they end up starting a fashion company together. And it's just like, obviously there are like, you know, mentions of transphobia, homophobia, just a lot of like nasty things, but just like at the heart of the story, the friendship between Jin and Ryu is just so cute and heartwarming, and I just really love it. All of the fashion was so cool. I'm just very excited to continue on with this. It was just, yeah, you know, there are times where I was like tearing up, and there are times where I'm just like big smile on my face. So good. Okay, so the next question is the most beautiful book that you bought this year, and I have a few. The first one is The Beautiful Ones by Sylvia Moreno Garcia. Like, I mean, can you look at this? Like, it's stunning. It's stunning. The next one is The Other Black Girls. This one is, it's simple, but so beautiful at the same time. I just like really like the bold lettering. I love the little afro pick. It's just, it's so good. And finally, I have The Firekeeper's Daughter by Angeline Boulley. I mean, what can I say? Just look at it, you know? It speaks for itself. And finally, the last question is, what books do you need to read by the end of the year? I mean, that's such a loaded question. I have so many books that I'd like to read by the end of the year, but two that I have here is Parable of the Sower by Octavia Butler. If y'all watched my reading goals for this year video, I mentioned that I wanted to get more into Octavia Butler's works, and I read Kindred at the beginning of this year and absolutely loved it. But I need to keep on going on my Octavia Butler train. So this is one that I'd love to read by the end of the year, and potentially the sequel as well. I also have The Broken Kingdom by N.K. Jemisin. I really, really want to finish the Inheritance trilogy by the end of the year as well. It's time. Like, I just need to get through it. I really want to finish up all of N.K. Jemisin's backlist. I need to get to the Killing Moon duology as well as her short story collection. So, but Inheritance first. I need to finish it. And that is all of the questions for the mid-year freakout tag. This was fun. My first one. Can't wait to continue doing this in the future. Yeah. I don't really know how to end this. I'll catch y'all in the next video.